Hi, this is Lucretia and welcome to our Life is the Art workshop. And today I wanted to share with you visually some of the techniques that I've been talking with you about. I got some really good feedback about the class thus far, and I had to agree completely that it's not easy trying, if someone has never ever done art journaling before, it's not easy trying to show them how to do something through just pictures. So what I wanted to do today was to share with you how to do the techniques I've been talking about. So we're going to start with an acrylic background. I've got just a simple sketchbook here, and this one has various pages I've been working in for a while. Most of this is all acrylic. In one way or another, there's just acrylic on the back of these pages. So that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to start with a yellow, and what I do is just put the color on the page, just squeeze a little bit on the journal page, and then using that card, just take the color, and this is how you can cover the background very fast. I love doing stuff with brushes, so I'm going to show you something too with this. And also what I found is that by using a credit card, or use something old like an old gift card or something that you can use to spread paint, you actually waste almost none of it, and it dries really fast, which is nice. So this is what we're going to do so far. Now I'm going to layer on another color. What I love about using this technique is how quickly, look at that took absolutely no time to cover the page, using just a gift card and a little bit of paint. So I want to add a little more color on here, and I'm just going to drop it. And this is pretty much how I paint. Even when I'm using a brush, this is the extent of how I paint. I hardly ever mix my colors on something else, and if I do, then it's on another piece of paper because I use that paper as a background. So we're going to just mix that color in there a little bit. Same thing on this side, and I'll use what I've got up there to add it. Same thing over here. And voila, we're done. Oh my goodness, I just got paint on my clothes. That's what happens when you don't change your outfit before you decide to paint, but that's my fault. Anyways, so we've got this down, and I'm considering this almost done. Now I'd like to share with you one of my favorite things that I love doing if I know I'm going to journal on the page and I want you to really be able to see it. I love using white paint, and this background is not quite dry. Use some white paint, and I'll get this smaller brush I have here, and it's a little wet. I don't want it super wet, but I need to work really fast because the paint is starting to dry. And all I'm doing is just taking my hand and whipping it back and forth. Whip my hair back and forth. And just whipping it back and forth. And I'm lightening my background just enough. And I just love the effect of what white does on a page. It's just amazing. It just completely lightens it up, and you can see the difference on this side and on this side. It looks like you have done this extensive, majorly extensive painting technique, and all you've done is just simply add a little bit of white to your page. Now I want to show you something else. So this page here is almost dry, and I work like this all the time where my pages are maybe half dry. And it's because I like still having the ability to do something different on the page. So I'm going to use the same brush, and I'm going to try to work really fast here on spreading this color because I want to show you how you can write. Oh, this color is not ideal for this at all. I don't like it. Oh no. I do this all the time. I'm telling you, it's an art journal. It's just a background, so we don't know what we're going to end up with in the end. So I'm going to actually pick a different color. Oh, we've got a red here. I'm going to put that one down instead. Golly, that's a lot of paint, but oh well. It's okay. So put that down and see if I can get a nice layer here using just this. Perfect. I do this all the time. All the time. Just do different things to the backgrounds and just see what happens. Plus it gives me an opportunity to see which techniques do I like using. So I'm going to take the back part of my brush and I'm just going to write something in it. So you put down a color and then put another color on top and you've got like an instant writing in your background. I just write, not necessarily expecting it to be anything or whatever, just having fun, seeing what you come up with and just leaving it. But it's a great way to scrape paint off and have the color in the background showing into your front. I may end up not even liking this, and that could be the case, and you may not like the pages that you do. Don't rip them out yet. What I want you to do is just to have fun experimenting and playing, because you may end up taking this. I may not like this, and like I've got pages behind these that I've been experimenting with, and I may do absolutely nothing with them, but I could end up taking them out, ripping them up and adding them to another page, and that ends up being another part of the journal page. So this is using acrylic paints to make a background, and now I want to share with you being able to make a background using watercolor, because that could be, watercolor is very versatile and I love it, and acrylic and watercolor are pretty much the only two types of paint that I use for my art journals. So if we're going to watercolor here, I use two different types of watercolor. I use some pan watercolors, and the reason I use these is because it's portable and I can take it with me, and the same thing with watercolor crayons. I can take these with me. There's only 12 in here, so I kind of like not having a huge amount, because it gives you an opportunity to be more creative. So let's see here. Here I'm going to show you a couple of techniques using the watercolor. Crayons are my favorite right now because I can just do anything with them and just have fun coming up with a little something and just experimenting. See what happens. Sometimes it comes out exactly like I want. Other times I'm like, what is this? But I just keep going with it. Just see what happens. So we're going to do this using the crayon on this side and see what happens. I have an idea of what it's going to look like, but we'll see. Then you take a little bit of water, not a ton. You don't want to drench it, but you want your brush to be wet. And start with the lighter color. It's up to you really, but I'll start with the lighter color, and I like to swirl my watercolor crayon. Just add a little bit more water to it so I can keep it moving, and start just kind of mixing my colors in together. And then I swirled from the center once I got my blue in there, and now I'm swirling it out into the green and the yellow, and that's what I end up with. And I'm going to do that again, and I'll do it a little bit slower so you can see. So down here, just mixing. Like I said, I like to swirl my brush to mix things in. Just swirl it. And swirling the lighter color first. And my swirls are getting just a little bit bigger, so now moving into the green. And now I've kind of changed my swirl to swirling like this. I've added just a little bit more water, got the blue swirled into the center, and now I'm swirling out to mix the colors together. And there we go. And that's using watercolor pencils. They are, or crayons rather, they're awesome. Now if I'm going to use my pan colors, I love using these two because they're a little more intense than the crayons. The crayons are way more subtle depending on how heavy you put down the crayon. So what I love about using the pan colors, and we're going to go with some yellow again. I'll go with my lighter color. And I'm just going to kind of swirl this into the center here. I'm kind of liking a whole circle theme lately. I want to get a little bit more of that, make it a little more intense in the center. And now I'm going to go straight into my orange and swirl that around the outside. Again, never trying to really be perfect with the color, but just seeing what do I come up with and seeing what happens. Watercolor, you've got to really be flexible, be open to what you end up with. And again, it's great for just covering the page or just adding. If you just want a little bit of color on the page, on a simple journal page, and I'm talking about a journal you just strictly write in, watercolor is perfect for that. It's light. You can still see your writing through it, depending on the type of pen. I wouldn't recommend using a marker and then going and throwing water on top of it. That's probably not going to look too hot. I've got some green over here. I'm loving green a lot lately. So I'm going to add just some green up here. And it kind of ties these two pages in together if I decide I want to make it a spread in my journal. And you can also just journal on one individual page. But I really just wanted to show you some background techniques using nothing more than paints and water. That's it. So I'm just liking how that looks. It's just really subtle. I love that. Just love it. And of course, you can take a paper towel if it's really wet, and I'll show it up here. I'll try to get some more of this green. It's really wet, so I'm going to wet it all back up again. Normally I wouldn't do this. This is a Moleskine, so it can take a little more abuse, but this is really wet, and I'm just taking a paper towel and removing the color. Again, another background technique. I am definitely not a professional painter by any means. I've just learned how to work with the medium and to use it to my advantage so that I can do what I want. So here is just a simple watercolor background, really light, and you kind of course see the difference between the watercolor and the acrylic, and you're going to get more intense backgrounds from the acrylic, but you can also do acrylic washes where you water down the paint and you can achieve the same effect that you get from watercolors. So these are the two techniques that I had shared with you earlier in the week, but I wanted to do a video for you so that you could see me doing it and say, well, how the heck did she get that effect there? How did she get it to do that? And now you know. So that's the backgrounds, and I'm going to come back with another video for you of how I start picking materials to add to my pages. So I hope you've enjoyed this and that it's given you a better idea of how to work out and create your backgrounds for your art journals.